I think, 7 principles that we can base a new Africa on.
African people all over the world have been stripped of their identity and their dignity. Because we have been stigmatized as slaves, in order for the slave master to justify it in the eyes of God, he had to say that we were subhuman. We were not human like the white man.
Right.
That allowed him to then say that we weren't as smart as him, that we didn't feel like him, and it allowed him to dehumanize us.
Right.
When the slaves were first, when black people were first brought to America as slaves, they were stripped of their identity, first of all. They changed their name.
Like
Kunta Kinte.
Exactly.
They changed his name. And then, if he had another person that spoke his language, that was from his same village, they separated them. They didn't want any unity. I want to take your name, which is your identity. I want to take your family, which is your support. And I want to break you down where you don't even have a language anymore. And they wouldn't allow us to use a language. We had to learn English. Okay?
To communicate with them.
To communicate with them. They would not let us use our language. And the only language that was common, if me and you spoke the same language, they would separate us. So the only language I could communicate in was the English language or the master's language. Whether it be French, whether it be Spanish, or whether it be English. Because all of them were slavers. Portuguese, okay? So it didn't just happen in America. When the white man decided to colonialize Africa, he used the same principles of slavery that he used in colonialism.
Just change the names.
It was just changing the names. He came in, he stripped you of your land, of your identity. He started making you use European names, and he took away your leadership. He took away your identity. In fact, what he would do was he would pit tribes against tribes. If there was any, and what you do with that is you desolate. In other words, if I put a piece of bread on the table and I lock you up in a room with your mother, sooner or later somebody wants to fight for that bread. Somebody wants to say, who gets the bread now? Mama, do you give me the bread? Or do I give mama the bread? A human being shouldn't have to go
Fight for food.
Through that type of desperation in order to live.
Exactly. That was fact.
That was one of the psychological ways that they started to tear down the family. Also, if you had a wife, he would not only come in and rape her when he wanted to and have babies by her, he could take her away from you or take your children away from you and sell them.
That's what is, I live in Europe. I mean, I have a big experience about it, that a Dutch man can never respect a foreign man.
Mm-hmm.
In Germany, it's in Germany, if you have a kid, they will tell you, you have to stay here to let your, to feed your baby, to work for your baby. But in Netherlands, you have a kid, and they tell you that you don't go. So
They don't want to change the dynamic of the population. They are very protective over maintaining their status quo, just as America is also. So one of the first things we have to understand as African people is that we have to stop worrying about the differences between us, and we have to start thinking about the similarities.
exactly,
Because that's unity. That's
umoja.
umoja. We think about unity.
Exactly, yeah.
All right? Now, the second thing we think about
It's kujichagulia.
kujikagulia, which means that I should say what's best for me.
Exactly, you gotta choose for yourself. That's what I love.
Self-determination.
Exactly. That's where, when it comes to religion, it gives me a little difficult to believe. Like, if I say that I gotta pick today any religion, I would say no. Maybe my religion is me to choose myself.
Well, this is the way you can believe. I think that there is something that is a higher power, a God, if you would.
Yeah.
But I think that you have to understand that we're part of a huge universe. We are part of a universe that has trillions of galaxies.
Yeah.
And each galaxy has trillions of stars.
Right.
What we have found out, and we think that we're based on water, so we think any place there's water, that there's life. Well, guess what? We found water throughout our own little planetary system.
Yeah.
So just imagine in all these trillions of stars, just in our little galaxy, which is not a big galaxy, a small galaxy, how much life must be out there. Because in all these stars, our one star has 20, 30 planet-sized objects that could contain life.
Exactly.
Think about a bigger star that might have 80, 90, and then you add that times a trillion. Think about the opportunities for life. I don't think life is a mistake. Or you knew.
Yeah.
I think it's part of a progression. It's like they say, we are all made up of stardust. We understand how stars come together.
Yeah.
We understand what they go through as far as a life cycle, at least we think we do. And we understand that we have influence. There's a thing in the Western world where people think, oh, I don't believe in astrology.
Right.
Astrology is an ancient African science that's built on the influence of planets and other heavenly bodies on us.
Right.
Well, we understand that the earth is 78% water. We're also 78% water.
Yeah.
We understand that the moon affects the tide.
Everybody knows. Yeah.
Everybody knows
Yeah.
that the moon affects the tide. Now, if the moon affects the earth that is 78%
Thank you
water,
so much.
why
We'll
wouldn't
be
it all...
right back. We're having a quick break.
Lakini yana uzito, maneno yangu machache, lakini yana uzito kwako, sababu kijana wangu. Naangalia Dr. Adam Show, mambo yote ni super. Ukitaka kujua ni Dr. wa nini, karibia utibiwe.
called our metabolism. And it ebbs and flows just like the tides.
Yeah.
And it gets weaker when we get ready to go to sleep, when we have to, recharge.
Right.
And it gets stronger as we wake up.
Right.
So what the ancient science said was that when a child is born, they are imprinted with a blueprint of what their possibilities and what their tendencies will be by where the planets are.
Yeah.
So that's how they read astrology. See, there's a lot of things with the science of Africa that are just now being proved by the Western world.
I believe so. And every day is getting proved to them with the African science, because a lot of things that I read or I've seen in the news or somewhere, and when I come to finalization, I find out it's a little bit different, or it might be a trick. It's always a trap somewhere, but you gotta find out where is it.
Yeah. So when we talk about self-determination, we don't want to be ruled by anybody other than our own collective consciousness. And that leads us into the next one.
The next one is called Ujamaa.
Ujamaa. What does Ujamaa mean?
Ujamaa is a collective work.
Collective work and responsibility.
Yeah.
So just like an ant hive,
Yeah.
right?
Ujamaa,
Or a
yeah.
beehive, right? It's like everybody has to understand there's a role that they play for the collective good of everybody else. As individuals, we fail.
Exactly.
All right?
Yeah, but as
United we stand, divided we fail.
exactly. Yeah.
So that's what that means. And then when we go to that, we look at collective economics. That means Ujamaa, that we share our resources.
Yeah.
It's like there's a European understanding that's called Machiavellianism. And what Machiavelli did was he said, you only put people around you that you can trust,
That's right.
that are family,
Yeah.
so that they won't stab you in the back,
Or change the mind
or they won't try to fight you
back later.
for power. See, the beauty about African system
Yeah.
is that when you see the round hut, it's what they call the round table in England.
Right.
The Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah.
It meant that everybody was equal. Everybody had a share in what was going on. Well, in Africa, we do the same thing. It's the round hut. And then there's the chief servant, who we have called the chief.
Yeah.
He doesn't run anything.
Yeah.
What he does is he carries out the will of the people.
That's what I mean, willing to do something.
He carries out the will of the people.
Yeah.
I have said, okay, you're the person I want to represent me, but you carry out my will. Because in that round hut that you see, and that's very important
That's what
to
I mean.
understanding African, like civilization.
Yeah.
It means that we don't think of a single leader. We think of a many-headed leader. Okay? So when we talk about collective
Yeah.
economics,
Yeah.
and we talk about collective work and responsibility,
Yeah.
we're talking about communalism. We're talking about all working together for the good of the whole.
And it must be something that can be supporting us. So we come back to other one of the Kwanzaa rule. It goes to Nia. Yeah.
Nia is purpose.
Exactly.
And our purpose is, as I was talking to you earlier, since we have been blessed
Yeah.
with somebody sustaining us in life, it is our responsibility to give back.
Yeah.
So we must go out and sustain life.
Yeah.
So that's our purpose. Our purpose is to ensure that all of us have a good existence, enjoy health and prosperity.
To have happiness, everybody is entitled to be happy.
That's Nia. And now, what's the next one?
The next one is Kumba.
Kumba.
Yeah.
For creativity. Creativity means
Kumba. Yeah.
creativity means
Kumba. Yeah.
is that creativity means that we don't get too comfortable when we start saying, I don't have to do anything else.
Exactly. Yeah.
We always have to evolve.
Yeah.
We always have to change and become better.
Right.
We can never think that we're okay now. We're good. We always have to understand that we can always become better, and that's the creativity.
Right.
And Imani is that we have to have the faith that all these things are going to will happen if we follow those 7 principles.
Right. I did follow them, and I ain't got to say I'm there, but I know I am there. So
See, the thing is that when you build a house,
yeah.
you start off with a foundation.
Right.
You just have to make sure that each block has the right orientation and is being done so that the next block will be able to sustain.
Right.
That's what a foundation is. A foundation sustains the structure. It goes back to sustainability and making sure that we have an environment
Right.
where all of us can thrive and be nurtured.
That's what I believe. And I got a question for you. I see you're Rastafari, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that I've seen your trueness, I've seen your realness, but I've seen other people also make Rasta just to look good to others or to be unique. What's the real meaning of being Rasta, to the world?
Rasta actually is a sacred trinity. And if you go look up now,
Got
Rasta.
to love ya, got to love ya, yeah, got to love ya, got to love ya, got to love ya, got to love ya.